Hello friends, welcome to Stories with Arna. Today we are going to read The Best Nest by PD Eastman, read by Vishnupriya and if you are new to the channel, please subscribe so you don't miss any of our videos. Let's start. Mr. Bird was happy. He was so happy he had to sing. This was Mr. Bird's song. I love my house, I love my nest. In all the world, my nest is best. But Mrs. Bird inside doesn't look so happy here. Then Mrs. Bird came out of the house. It's not the best nest, she said. I am tired of this old place, said Mrs. Bird. I hate it. Let's look for a new place right now, she said. So they left the old place to look for a new one. This place looks nice, said Mr. Bird. Let's move in here. So they spotted this hole or hollow in the tree and they want to move in here. I see a grocery store and a post office here. But somebody else had already moved in. So they could not move in there. So they looked at another house. This one looks nice, said Mr. Bird. And there's nobody in there, said Mr. Bird to Mrs. Bird. And that is a boot. You're wrong, said Mrs. Bird. This house belongs to a foot. As someone is putting their feet inside this shoe, they are quickly flying away. So they went on looking. I like this one, said Mr. Bird. It has a pretty red flag on the roof. I always wanted a house with a flag, said Mrs. Bird. Maybe this place will be all right, she said. And they are actually looking at a mailbox. And the mailman is coming in his van. But it was not all right. I guess I made a mistake, said Mr. Bird, as the mailman is putting in all the letters inside the mailbox. This can't be their home. You make too many mistakes, said Mrs. Bird. I'm going to pick the next house. And here it is, right here. As they fly to a church, there's a broken window through which they want to get inside. They flew in. They looked around. Isn't it too big? Asked Mr. Bird. I like this big place, said Mrs. Bird. This is the place to build our new nest. I see a very big bell here. They went right to work. They needed many things to build their nest. First, they got some hay. Then, they got some soda straws. Soda straw from the glass of a girl who was drinking her juice or whatever she had in her cup. And broom straws. They got some sweater strings from a person who was wearing the sweater. Oh, he looked so surprised. They got some stocking string right out of the feet of somebody who's reading the news. And mattress stuffing from the swing that he was swinging on. They got some horse hair and they got some man hair from his head and his beard. Soon they had all the hay, all the straw, all the string, all the stuffing, all the horse hair and all the man hair they could carry. They took it all back to build their nest. Wow, they did a lot of hard work in trying to build their nest, getting all the materials ready. Mr. and Mrs. Bird worked very hard. It took them the rest of the morning to finish their nest. "This nest is really the best," said Mrs. Bird. "I want to stay here forever," she said. Mr. Bird was very happy too. He flew to the top of his house. He sang his song again. "I love my house, I love our nest. In all the world, our nest is best." He was so busy singing, he didn't even see Mr. Parker coming. Every day at 12 o'clock, Mr. Parker came to the church. Mr. Parker came to pull a rope. The rope went up to the bird's new nest. The rope rang the big bell right under Mrs. Bird's nest. Bong! 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 The bell started ringing loudly. Mrs. Bird got out of there as fast as she could fly. And it's still ringing. Bong! 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 So Mr. Bird is going here and Mrs. Bird is going in the other direction. When Mr. Bird came in, all he could see was a mess of hay and string and stuffing and horsehair and manhair and straws. Where was Mrs. Bird? "I will look for her until I find her," said Mr. Bird. He looked high, he looked low, he looked everywhere for Mrs. Bird. He's going all over the place in search of Mrs. Bird. He looked down into a chimney, but Mrs. Bird wasn't there. He looked down into a water barrel, but Mrs. Bird wasn't there. Only 2 horses drinking water. Then he saw a big fat cat. There was a big fat smile on the fat cat's face. There were some pretty brown feathers near the fat cat's mouth. Mr. Bird began to cry. "Oh dear," he cried. "This big fat cat has eaten Mrs. Bird. He is so sad, he is crying." Mr. Bird flew off. "I'll never see Mrs. Bird again," he cried. It was getting dark. It began to rain. It rained harder and harder. Mr. Bird could not see where he was going. He was crying. He is so sad. Crash! Mr. Bird bumped into something. He couldn't see where he was going. It was his old house. That old house that Mrs. Bird hated. "I'll go inside," said Mr. Bird. "I'll rest here until the rain stops." Mr. Bird went in, and there was Mrs. Bird sitting there singing, "I love my house, I love my nest. In all the world, this nest is best." She's singing and she's so happy. "You? Here?" gasped Mr. Bird. "I thought you hated this old nest." He's asking Mrs. Bird. Mrs. Bird smiled. "I used to hate it," she said. "But a mother bird can change her mind. You see, there's no nest like an old nest for a brand new bird. They have an egg, a blue beautiful egg. And when the egg popped open, the new bird thought so too." That was a nice story. I hope you enjoyed reading with us. Don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next video.